All right, we've covered the Wood Elves in depth with their new units. Now it's time to give the Skaven their treatment. So same thing's going to go as last time. I'm going to be covering all of the new Skaven units. We're going to talk real quick about each one, about a minute, minute and a half each, and then go over their points values. If I do forget to talk about the points value, I'll at least put it in the lower third so you can see it. And remember that points value is the max amount that unit or lord or hero can cost. So that way you have a top end baseline. So before we get started though, I do want to just give a quick shout out to Aerocrastic and Turin once more. They are the gentlemen who will be competing in the quick battle at the end of this segment. So after you go through the unit guide, you can watch their videos, and then you can also find a link to both of their channels in the description or the pinned comments. They both don't need an introduction, but I do want to make sure they get their just deserves. And lastly here, guys, if you have not picked up the game, you can pick it up through my Nexus storefront. They have a partnership directly with Creative Assembly, so you'll get a Steam key directly from the source, and it's a great way to support the channel, and it gives me a huge commission. You'll also get the 10% discount you would get on Steam Direct. So let's get started on our new units for the Skaven, and a quick battle to accompany it. You knew we'd be starting here. You knew it would be Throt the Unclean would be our first unit to talk about, and he's looking beefy here on his Brood Horror, clocking in at 2,300 points. Let's take a... Okay, calm down, Horror. Let's take a look at what he's got going on. So Throt is a pretty devastating legendary lord, and you're going to see him in the quick battle being used. You've already seen him in the Wood Elf quick battle being used in conjunction with the Packmaster, and he does do some devastating damage because he's got AP. But the big thing is that his abilities allow him to threaten very well into large targets. I'm going to move back a little bit, Throt. You've had a little bit too much to eat. So let's take a real quick look at his stats right here. He does have regeneration off of the Brood Horror, so that is a nice thing to know. In addition, he gets the standard kit of the missile and physical resistance here of 20%. He is also in a clan Moulder monster, so he can heal himself. He gets frenzy, and he also has this ability, Master Controller, increasing leadership and melee defense around him. And then his his two abilities and his weapon are the Creature Killer, which will give a 16 bonus versus large and immune to psychology, which is massive. Also, Remouldered, which is a 2-charge, basically pocket regrowth that also gives leadership and melee attack, which is awesome. And then lastly, Beast Pack gives him the ability to summon Rat Ogres. So do not sleep on this guy. He is a devastating legendary lord for the Skaven. Time for the other boy in the band, the Packmaster. Now, you probably think I'm still talking about Throt, but I'm not. They are just the same looking model because of that disgusting fleshy ball sack that is the Brood Horror. Now, the Packmaster comes in at around 1611, depending on whether or not you put him on his mount. And he can be pretty awesome because of that mount. Him and Throt can be used in conjunction very well. He has anti-large kind of built into him. It says anti-large, but I don't think... I think it's one of those kind of like passive anti-larges or whatever it is. But either way, his abilities are Running with the Pack, which gives a passive 4 hit point regen to anyone around him that is a clan Moulder monster within a 30-meter radius. Obviously, he is a clan Moulder monster as well, so it will heal him. In addition, he gets Scrying Stone, which gives 8 leadership and a 22% damage resistance. So it's basically like an Opal Amulet, but with leadership attached to it. He also gets Shock Collar, which is essentially the same as the damage boost that Throt the Unclean gets with 24 melee attack and 16 leadership, but immune to psychology as well. Not as good, but it is a little bit of a step down. And then lastly, Skaven Brew, which will vastly increase melee attack, base weapon damage, and reduce armor and increase make the unit immune to psychology. But the Packmaster is a really awesome addition to the hero lineup and works very well in conjunction with a lot of the new disgusting creatures added in with the Twist and the Twilight. Easily my favorite addition to the Skaven is Ghoritch here. Kind of a dark horse, not something I saw coming, but a really, really awesome addition nonetheless. He is a Norskin, Khorne-aligned Norskin whose brain was put into a Rat Ogre. So you can see he's pretty awesome. Nice 520 weapon strength, AP, and anti-infantry, but giving him a nice bonus versus infantry of 30. He is just yoked. He's got fear, he's got terror, he's immune to psychology, he has frenzy, he's got the whole shebang. But he gets this nice, really awesome passive ability called Blood Shield, giving 15% magic resistance to any ally in 55-meter range. It's a pretty nice aura there. What I really do like about that is take a look at the flavor text. To his loyal followers, the Lord of Murder's bellows of rage that echo throughout the multiverse, strengthen them against cowardly sorceries. That's a very race agnostic flavor text. So for me, that's a little bit of a taste of things to come, hopefully, with Beatsman and or Wars of Chaos. But that's speculation, that's neither here nor there. He also gets the Sword of Anti-Heroes that stacks very well here with Warp Frenzy, basically doubling the same amount from his Sword of Anti-Heroes at 25% AP and base weapon damage with the 24 melee attack. Also gets a lovely Crown of Command, making him or anyone else unbreakable, so you can really kind of bring him back from the brink with this. And lastly, he has this new ability called Evisceration, in which case he whirls around like a whirling Ghoritch dervish, just slashing and punching everything. This guy is another badass addition to the Skaven. It's time to talk about some units with the Wolf Rats. Now we get two flavors of Wolf Rat. One is chocolate and the other one is cookies and cream. Now these two both come in at 550 points, and the only difference between them is the Wolf Rats with poison, well, they have poison. They have the same stats otherwise, and they're all the units we're going to talk about are Clan Moulder monsters, so they can be healed by Throt and the Packmaster. That's something to kind of take note of. But when we look at the normal Wolf Rats, they have magic attacks and do AP damage for the same amount of points. So you can kind of determine what's going to be more advantageous for you and your matchup. In my opinion, I think the Wolf Rats probably are a little bit better because having the ability to poison things and slow them down is going to be way more advantageous to you, especially because poison also reduces the amount of damage a unit can do. And at 550 points, these things are a great way for Skaven to be able to threaten, backline, and screen out charges. Our next unit is not a brand new unit, but it is a Regiment of Renown for the Rat Ogres, a much needed addition to the roster. These guys come in at 1050 points, which is 250 points above the standard Rat Ogre. And what do they bring to the table? Well, immune to psychology, frenzy, AP damage, the kind of kit that we've expected so far from Rat Ogres, but mainly their big thing is this: the ability to go berserk. And as they progress through all the stages, they'll be getting increased melee attack and physical resistance. So these guys can really do a ton of damage at the top end of their berserk ability, while also being able to absorb just a bit more. They still are unfortunately Rat Ogres, so they suffer from lower leadership and low armor, so you do have to kind of keep them under wraps still. But I think that it's great to see Regiment of Renown Rat Ogres. I wish that they were an armored variant, but I'll take it. The Pit Fighters of Hell's Deep will definitely be in my Skaven rosters. Continuing our romp through the OnlyFans of Skaven's ballsack picks, we have the Brood Horror just on its own. Now, this guy is no different than any of the other ones we've looked at before. 400 weapon strength with AP, going to be doing some poison damage. They also have regeneration, cause fear and terror, missile resistance innately built into their kit, and they have frenzy. Last big thing that they've got, though, is Death Blow, so this will allow them to do one final swing before they die. I'm not sure if Death Blow is subject to the rules of melee attack. I don't know if it says, okay, if it's a death blow that triggers, it's going to have all the same properties of a normal swing, or if it has some sort of special like death blow calculations or something of the sort. Feel free to let me know in the comments section below if you know. But I just wanted to quickly highlight the new solo Brood Horror. Up next are our new single entity Mutant Rat Ogres, both the Regiment Renown version and the Standard Edition. Standard Edition comes in at 1300 with the Regiment of Renown at a 1600, and these guys are pretty girthy. So the Mutant Rat Ogre has innate physical resistance with 445 AP weapon damage that is also magic attacks, which is just lovely, causes fear and terror, and also has frenzy. These guys are just girthed out. Of course, he still does have low armor, that's something to consider. But when we move over here to the Morskatar's Hellion, we will see the Regiment Renown version. So what this brings to the table is a really cool ability right here called Zap. Now, this is the same thing from the Regiment of Renown Lightning Cannon that adds ability recharge, and this is going to be a pretty big flavor of this DLC, is adding that ability recharge between Dryka, between Morskatar's Hellion, so you have those options there. Pretty much for the most part, everything's the same. You also get this ability, Warp Discharge, which will act very similar to the Lizardman's Regiment of Renown Triceratops, in which case he will blast things around him for 2 seconds every 15 seconds, and to do a little bit of vortex warp lightning damage. So a very fun and cool, flavorful model for the Twisted and the Twilight. God, and here it is, the Thing, the Hell Pit Abomination that would make Kurt Russell cry from the movie Thing. Ooh, you just flipped around on us, man. A little somersault. I like that. So the Thing here is the new Regiment Renown again for the Hell Pit Abomination, and it comes in at 2,200 points, 2,250 to be exact, which is 400 points higher than the standard 1,850 from the normal Hell Pit Abomination. Now, what this guy brings to the table is a standard kit of your, AP and anti-large weapon damage, as well as poison attacks, but he has some other little tricks up his sleeve. He still retains his normal stuff with Too Horrible to Die and with the Rats Emerge. I would have preferred, though, for the Regiment of Renown, if rather than Skaven Slaves, Clan Rats came out, because it's a Regiment of Renown. Make me have my money's worth. But here's the big one, is Fluid Injection. And what this does is increases his AP and base damage, as well as increasing his melee attack by 24. It's kind of the same thing we got from Ghoritch, but it will also rampage the thing. So this is a pretty fun new Regiment of Renown here for the Skaven. And as a whole, this concludes our quick unit dive for the Skaven. In my opinion, I think the Skaven didn't get as many things as the Wood Elves, but I don't think they needed them. I think the Skaven had enough tools in their chest already, because they have been the subject of many DLCs up to this point. If you think about it, this is the first time we're getting a Wood Elf DLC between Game 1 and 2, and it also includes a Wood Elf rework, so I think Wood Elf getting more units and more campaign-exclusive stuff is a little bit of a fair move, if anything, but I am still very excited to see Clan Moulder fill out the Skaven roster completely now. I think it's probably was sorely needed, but I will also be looking forward to them not getting any love for years to come, hopefully. Let's jump now over to the quick battle and watch Aerocrastic and Turin duke it out in a Skaven versus Warriors of Chaos match. Our second battle of Aerocrastic versus Turin, and we're going to see some Chaos, Warriors of Chaos against Skaven for our Skaven-themed unit guide here. So Aerocrastic is jumping us off with Prince Sigvald the Magnificent. Just got a girth increase on his butt. As you can clearly see, that butt plate is just happening. Across the front line, it's going to be mainly a lot of Chaos Marauders. You don't need much else than that when you're fighting against Skaven for the most part. They'll trade well into Clan Rats. But then followed with a huge army of Chaos Spawn. They have gotten plenty of buffs in the more recent patches at 160 weapon strength. So they're really in it to win it, and they are unbreakable. With, of course, the Prince Sigvald himself and a Sorcerer of Death with both Spirit Leech and Aspect of the Dread Knight, which will work very well here. And then a horde of Marauder Horsemen and 2 units of Chaos Warhounds with Poison. For Turin's army, we're seeing a front line of Skaven Slaves once more, with a back line of Skaven Slave Spearmen, supported in there with Ghoritch. Look at him looking hot and girthy, just coming in with the old Dremel. And we see the Plague Priest, as well as the typical setup with the Poison Wind Globadiers. His Lord is going to be Throt the Unclean on a Brood Horror as well. And they're going to be just jumping into this full headlong. You can see that Chaos Sorcerer of Death has just landed here in a pretty precarious situation. Might get pinned into place, but he's getting plenty of support from the Chaos Spawn and from the Marauder Horsemen, which are going to be using this situation to probably take advantage of Ghoritch charging into the Spawn being held in place by the Poison Wind Globadiers and getting cooked up by some of those globes and hitting heavily into the Mirror Guard, the Regiment Renown Chaos Warriors that, well, mirror Sigvald. Over here by the where Sigvald is, we can see the Plague Priest is at 50% health. He is just getting the business hard and heavy from that Chaos Sorcerer of Death. Throt the Unclean is in that little tussle as well, and he's just pulling out the last minute there. with the Chaos Spawn are moving all over the place. There's Rat Ogres trying to help support the Plague Priest, but it does help give him a line to push out. The Chaos Spawn charging now into these Rat Ogres as Aerocrastic tries to push the initiative here that he's created on this right side of the map. He's created a little bit of a pocket, but he's gotten a little bit of an opening he can take advantage of. He still has Marauder Horsemen in the back here just shooting into whatever they so wish. And the left line here has just gotten a charge in from 2 units of Chaos Warhounds with poison. Now, it is quite the melee here in the center. You can see the Poison Wind Globadiers are getting just kind of hit really hard by everything. They've got the Mirror Guard in there. They've got those Chaos Warhounds with poison. You can see, we just missed the Warp Grinders doing one of their abilities. They've got Creature Killer here, giving them a bonus of 16 to their bonus versus large. Now, taking a look at the Warp Grinders themselves, this is going to add to their damage right now with that 78 AP, adding that 17 bonus versus large, but that is now worn off. They're trying to kind of even the odds as they lock things into place. Marauder Horseman still chucking down range here into Ghoritch, knocking his health apart. And for the most part, Turin is retreating a little bit here to try and just get some room in that back line. A lot of his forces will start to use Scurry Away and kind of run away as fast as possible, but should hopefully start to come back. But Aero, a veteran of the Long War here, has had his Chaos Warhounds chase down the fleeing units, including these Wolf Rats, to try and even the odds here and help push the balance of power in his favor. A big, huge center morale, a melee here going down with Throt the Unclean, Ghoritch, and that Plague Priest just jumping into everything, trying to just shore up some of those Chaos Spawn and take apart those Marauders. And it's working out really well here. A Turin trying to get a little bit of momentum, build things back up. Ghoritch is a Moulder monster, so he can be healed by the pocket regrowth that Throt the Unclean has. But coming down over here to try and pounce onto that Chaos Sorcerer of Death is a good call. There's a lot of damage that Throt the Unclean can pull out when it comes to anti-large, so he's trying to just push that advantage as hard as he can. And look at that speed, 95 on the poisoned 65 speed of the Chaos Sorcerer of Death just allows him to get back up into the air, trying to get that good capitalization right there on that Chaos Sorcerer. Aero just chasing apart this Plague Priest who is on its last limb. He has got Sigvald, he has got Chaos Spawn, but they're getting countercharged in now by Ghoritch and Throt the Unclean. The Plague Priest turning around as well, getting support in from those Rat Ogres as they try to break the line here of these 2 Chaos Spawn. As you can see back here, got a Warp Grinder action going down, locking these Marauder Horsemen in place with Warp Quake and Seismic Snare. But for the most part, Aero is almost out of ammunition, and this is good for Turin. It means that these Marauder Horsemen are going to stop being as useful very soon. But the unfortunate thing here is balance power is slightly more so in Aero's favor than it is for Turin's, about 55-45 right now. But I will say that even though those Marauder Horsemen are running out of ammo, there are still going to be entities on the battlefield presence that Turin will have to deal with, and right now he is just running out of units. Ghoritch is about to completely break here. You can see there's one unit of Rat Ogres that is broken. The other one's charging in, trying to give some room to Ghoritch. Look at Throt the Unclean just waddling away. He's got spears in his flank, and he's just going all over the place over there. The Poison Wind Globadiers, though, launching into those, the Chosen, or I'm sorry, not Chaos Chosen, the Chaos Warriors, the Mirror Guard, giving them a little bit of damage. But Sigvald's in great health. He's looking pretty good. Got that sweet new butt plate of his, so he's looking to show it off to those Skaven hordes from Hell Pit. This is pretty cool. This is pretty thematic, right? You have Hell Pit, which is very close to the lands of Norskins and of the Warriors of Chaos. It's in Troll Country, so you get it as a cool kind of a grudge match right here. But it looks like things are not going so well for Turin as Aero pushing the initiative and the advantage that he has, especially in numbers alone. He is breaking apart some of these units of clan rats, and it looks like it's just down to these 2 big single entities for the most part. Ghoritch is not looking too good, and he keeps getting locked up, but Turin's just pulling him around, keeping the distance here, trying to push them into some more clan rat spears, getting a charge in onto these Marauders and just belly flopping into them. Skaven Slaves jumping in as well. What you kind of have to know or remember when it comes to the competitive multiplayer scene, it's not just simply about a 1-to-1 fight. It's really about reducing the number of units on the battlefield to hopefully create leadership penalties, to create army losses, to create circumstances in which you can win. One unit that's sitting around is still contributing to your leadership and preventing you from getting army losses. Turin, a veteran of the Long War as well, is looking to crush out any of those idle units that he can give just that slightest bit of advantage that might be the tipping point in any kind of grudge match like this. Gonna go finish off that single Chaos Spawn. The two of them just jumping into it. Ghoritch on his last limb. Warp Frenzy and Creature Killer kicked off here, trying to do some sort of damage, but take a look. Heroic Killing Blow and Slippery are on Prince Sigvald. He is trying to catch that Ghoritch so bad. Even with the good 50 speed that he gets from those bonuses, he's not going to be able to catch up to the 70 speed of Ghoritch, but Ghoritch gets caught up a little bit here in a Chaos Spawn. Is probably going to get the old Kielbasa from Prince Sigvald at 345 health. He is wavering. He is not going to make it. Balance of Power Bar now significantly in Aerocrastic's favor as Ghoritch flees off the battlefield, and it's pretty much just down to Throt the Unclean, these units of Skaven slaves, some fleeing wolf rats, and I think that is actually it on the battlefield here. Army losses should be kicking in soon, but we'll watch this grubby Skaven Lord try and duke it out with Prince Sigvald the Magnificent himself, who has the cape that shall never be dirtied by Skaven or any other foe. So I really like the combination of Throt the Unclean. I think he does a lot of damage, and he can be used so well with some of the big scary beasties of the Skaven. He can boost their anti-large, he can boost their fighting ability, he can heal them. He has a lot of really good pocket utility. Let's jump back into a post-battle report and hear from Aerocrastic and Turin on this fight. We're back here with Aerocrastic and Turin on this match, and it was, like I said before, it was a little bit of a cool kind of lore grudge match. We had Skaven versus Warriors of Chaos, Hell Pit being very close to the lands of Norska, so a very fun fight indeed. So, Turin, you had a very similar setup to our last match, where you had Skaven slaves in the front, Skaven slave spearmen kind of reinforcing you. You didn't go with a poison wind mortar. You went with warp grinders this time around. So what was the changes you made, obviously including Ghoritch, and how do those really factor in against Warriors of Chaos, and why did you make those changes, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different matchup. So in this case, I didn't feel the mortar teams were as necessary because Globadiers kind of serve the same purpose, honestly. And, Chaos is going to be coming to you, so you don't need something to... Although a mortar team would have been useful to help deal with his Marauder Horseman, in all honesty. But Ghoritch is really expensive. When you do bring Ghoritch, he's around 2,000 gold, so it's a pretty big investment. He certainly probably did not pay for himself, though he didn't do badly. Arrow was able to focus him down really effectively, and, Arrow's micro is just much better than mine, so it was very, very tough to protect Ghoritch against his horsemen. But aside from that, Throt did pretty well for himself. You can see the damage value on him. Globadiers were, again, super good against Chaos because they blob, right? It's always Marauders stacked on top of spawns. So you're getting like a real big 2-for-1 value train with those Globadiers with the overtime effect plus the good general armor piercing and explosion they have. But yeah, it was a good game. It was a close game, but Arrow actually pointed out, and he can tell you about this, Sigvald got some huge buffs. Not only is it much harder to knock over and abuse Footlords now, but you also mentioned he got some increases, Aerocrastic?
Yeah, so there were quite a few changes here. So he always had standard die, but previously he had Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught, which have been replaced with the higher weapon strength buff, Heroic Killing Blow, which brings his weapon strength up to like 760 or something like that. And also he has Slippery, so he's got 2 stackable defense buffs. On top of this, he also gained 10 leadership, so he's sitting at 100 now, which is the highest out of any lord that isn't unbreakable. He actually already was the highest out of any non-undead lord at 90 previously, so now he just passed that by another 10 for some reason. And in addition to that, he's also immune to vigor, so it's
pretty scary. I actually, the whole game was kind of treating him as a bit of a joke, like I just ignore him. But like every time he got near me, it was like, and as the game got later and later and my resources dwindled, I was like, oh god, I have to deal with him. And like Ghoritch was just so beat up, and yeah, it was scary, man. Your Sigvald play quite terrifying. You certainly are the Dark Herald of Slaanesh here, man. It was a good game.
I've been preparing for this moment since months ago.
Dude, just wait when Chaos gets their treatment, right? Like I'm hoping they will at some point, but like when the Warriors of Chaos finally get some sort of an update, dude, Sigvald is gonna probably get like some unholy, like gnarly stuff, man. I'm super excited for that.
I mean, hopefully it comes before Game 3, but it'd be kind of cool if he had something almost like what's his nuts? Who's the Dark Elf that I can't think of off the top of my head that goes Super Saiyan?
Malice?
Yes, Malice Darkblade. If he had like some sort of like cool dual thing, like where he could just rip into like a whole different phase and just becomes a monster, but
Or just give him a mount.
even at minimum, that'd be great.
Yeah, like a Seeker of Slanesh.
Yeah, I was about to just say the little Lictor mounts, those disgusting things.
In tabletop, though, he never had a mount, though, right? He was always a foot character.
Yeah, it was always a foot character.
You know, I bet you, like, when Chaos gets an update, he'll get something like some sort of an AoE buff that gives him unit psychology and maybe gives, like, some melee attack. Like, he'll probably get some multiplicative effects like that, would be my guess.
Yeah, that's always been
really interested to see how they implement Slanesh. Because wasn't there some sort of a spell that would like cause damage to allies and enemies, but it would be like a buff for you and the hex for them or something?
Huh. Not.
Yes.
I don't. Is there?
Yeah. So the lore of Slanesh had a spell like that.
Oh, in tabletop. Oh.
Yeah, and it's called like, it's got some over the top Slaneshi name, or it's something like Dance Orgy. I don't remember, but it's
isn't it called Hysterical Frenzy or something?
That might be it.
Yeah, in 40k they have all the same stuff, like in terms of spells. So
that I think is 100% it, because Slanesh had really good lore, a really good lore. Their units though were always kind of weird, because like their characters were always awkward, but their other demon units were always really good. Like they had the mask, that thing was kind of funky, but all their demon units were solid. Slanesh has always kind of had that weird placement in not just simply the lore, but in tabletop, where it's got a lot of good stuff, but also a lot of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is one inflection of Slanesh in the game right now with the Pendant of Slanesh for the Chaos Lord, which gives melee attack and speed. So that could be something like faster and harder hitting, you know.
And that tracks, because if you had the Mark of Slanesh, it increased your initiative in 8th edition.
Yeah, it's like I think
if you always strike first, actually, I think
Khorne will probably be like harder hitting, and then you know, Slanesh will just be objectively like faster and more finesse based with like making contact more often rather than higher damage. But who knows? Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll probably see Nurgle with something like melee defense,
just
physical
slow and
resist.
shitty.
Yeah, exactly. Just pondering about.
Being kited, yeah, that'd be fun.
But all right, guys, thank you very much for joining me here today. Please go and head out to Aerocrastic's channel that you can find linked in the description or the comment section. Also, you can find the same thing, a link to Turin's channel as well. And if you're looking for more competitive multiplayer fun times to be had, we will be hosting the Ever Chosen Invitational on Saturday and Sunday, and you'll be able to see all sorts of familiar faces from across the globe. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.